Thank you, Chair. As parliamentarians, we're charged with a high duty, and that is, above all else, is to look out for the public interest. Now, to do this, we must weigh the benefits of implementing certain public policies against the costs of inaction. It's a heavy responsibility. But I'm sure that we can agree that when confronted by a social injustice, that we are necessarily compelled to act to remedy it. What we have witnessed in recent years during the economic downturn is the emergence of a massive social injustice that went largely unimagined for a long time, largely because the conditions never existed. With the economic downturn, we saw employers like Nortel and Air Canada, General Motors, Abitibi-Bowater, we saw them fail, and the value of certain assets and investments sink on a scale not imagined in recent times. And it was a perfect storm for workers. Employers failed, jobs were lost, and pension funds became insolvent. Lives were decimated, and I have no doubt that some lives were lost during this crisis. Now, as parliamentarians, we must bear the collective responsibility of having allowed these conditions to exist in the first place. But we bear an even greater responsibility today, and that is to ensure that such an injustice can never occur again. Now, Bill C-501 will do, surprisingly, what has not been done before. It would, in most cases, secure the pensions of all Canadians whose employers have fallen on hard times, that have undertaken restructuring, entered bankruptcy protection, or have collapsed entirely and had their assets liquidated. If passed, Bill C-501 would mean that every working Canadian can take comfort in knowing that their pension, their retirement, is as secure as possible. Now, we'll hear in these proceedings from those who will outline the dire need to implement these reforms. We'll hear from those who oppose such reforms, and we'll hear from others who are no doubt conflicted or have alternate prescriptions. In the end, I urge all members to remember that we alone have the ability and bear the responsibility to act in the interests of the people who have elected us to this place to govern on their behalf. And I believe it's time for C-501 to become law. And I believe the testimony of the witnesses will bear this out. I ask all members of this committee who have thus far worked so cooperatively with me on this bill to continue to do so, and to exercise our unique powers to ensure that such an injustice is never faced by a hard-working Canadian again. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Rafferty. Now we'll move on to